Hey guys, so a quick follow-up on my yesterday's video. I did some changes, did some more testing, and specifically I did some more testing regarding this talent. Spoiler alert: I ended up shifting 1 point into Spirit Redemption. But before we get there, what I did was I removed all my talents down there, right? I got the exact same build that I had before, except I didn't put any points into spiritual healing. Essentially, I did testing on all my spells without spiritual healing. Now, what you're going to see is this sheet. Let's put this away for a second, right? These are my spells. I didn't bother doing much in Holy Noah. Right, each rank I did the same thing. I healed myself. If you, as you can see in the combat log, right? I did some healing on myself, 10 times each, 20 times each. On Prayer of Healing, I did a bit less because they don't need a lot of casts to see a good average. I did like 10, I think, or 15. But regardless, uh, these two columns on the left are my results without the spiritual healing talent. These are the base heals, the healing that's given in the description of the spell, and these are the average heals. And these are the heals I got 2 days ago, I believe. The base heals and the average heals. What you're going to notice is that the base heals are different. Uh, and what it turned out is that the 10% in here in spiritual healing, it does not affect your total healing. It doesn't affect the entire number. It only affects your base healing. And that's what happened. This is what actually happened. I'll show you. Right? If you if we take a look at the amount by which base heal was increased, and if we divide it by the original base heal, the 0 talent base heal, and we get a percentage, it's either 10 or 9% depending on how the numbers are rounded. But my total average heals, i.e. after the bonus healing takes place, right? This divided by this minus 1 should do the same trick. These increase by only like 2% ish, like 7% on the greater heals because they have a larger base, right? So it's not a flat out 10% increase on your total healing. And like these are my estimations on my new decision. Essentially, since it's not as big of a deal as I remember it was, right? I decided to take a look at Spirit of Redemption. Now, I don't know how well I'll be able to test this because this will be tested in raids. But the point is, I took out 1 point out of spiritual healing, and these two columns on the right. Let's delete this. Right, these two columns give me my estimation for what my healing will be with 4 points. Yes, yes, 4 out of 5 with 4 points in spiritual healing, and these are what used to be my averages with maximum. So essentially, by shifting 1 point into out of spiritual healing, I sacrifice this amount of healing per cast, right? On renew, it's not much. I'm sacrificing about 1% each time, and same thing for ordinary heals and for greater heals. But if we take a look, like for in from in terms of bonus healing, like if you took a look at the gear, right? From a gear standpoint, how do those changes translate into like this bonus healing, this spell healing right here? What I could do is, in the same way as this is the result of multiplying by 2.5 and divided by 3.5, as we discussed before, I could divide this by that ratio to get this. Essentially, on my rank 1 heals, this decision of mine ends up sacrificing me on average about 15 bonus healing from items, and on greater heals, about 40-ish average, 40 bonus healing on items. This is a big sacrifice. I would rather not have to make this sacrifice, right? But that's the situation I'm in. On flesh heal, it's probably not that much. No, still. Am I even doing this right? Yeah, I am doing this right, yeah. So essentially I'm sacrificing about around 40-ish bonus healing. Now, I'd rather not have to do this, right? I'd rather have 5 points in here. But I die quite a few times in raids. Not a lot, like we don't wipe that much. But I still want to experiment with Spirit of Redemption. I want to see if I can keep this for a few weeks, maybe like 1 week or 2 weeks, and see how it works. If I die a lot more in raids, if this happens a lot to me and I notice that it's very helpful, I'll keep this. If not, if I don't die that much, right, then I'll go back to the full max 5/5 because plus 40 gear healing is quite a bit. It's a significant effect, even though it only seems to be 2%, right? Sadly, I can't move anything from the discipline tree because it will be my divine spirit, and I need this baby a lot, right? So there's gonna have to be a choice between these two. I'm not touching spiritual guidance. Each point gives me 5% of my total spirit as bonus healing. Which would be 286, right? Without anything. So 286 times 5% is 14. And this is 40. Okay, interesting. Yeah. This is actually a big deal. I hadn't done this calculation before, as you might have noticed, right? This could actually be a bigger deal. It could be smarter for me to shift 1 point out of spiritual guidance into spiritual healing and have a 4 out of 5 here. So this way I'll be sacrificing much less bonus healing just to get Spirit of Redemption. So right now I'm not very... I don't have a lot of gold. Like the next... How much is it gonna cost me? Where are you? Priest trainer. It's gonna cost me a bit more than I would like. Yeah, 20 gold. Personally, I'm not ready to spend 20 gold right now on this optimization, but after I'll do some farming in Dire Maul, I'll get the money to do this. But yeah, essentially, if you're gonna try to experiment like this with me, I would suggest removing 1 point out of spiritual guidance, because it seems to be that 1 point here seems to be much less than 1 point here, as you can see, right? These are the effects. So overall, that's what I wanted to tell you guys. I won't waste your time any longer. So spiritual healing turns out to be affecting only base heals, right? The effectiveness of the spells is the same as I've told you before, that slower casting spells are much better to use, right? Use basic heals, use greater heals. Disclaimer: I found a mistake in my spreadsheet. I had a wrong formula here. So the efficiency rating for rank 1 heal is not 10 but 7.5, which is still the highest. So I'm still going to recommend it, which is actually very close to a 5-person prayer healing rank 1, by the way, which is also interesting. So yeah, so far this is how it turns out. After a while, I'll see if I can like roll out some new update regarding Spirit of Redemption. Honestly, I'm not sure it would be worth a separate video, but we'll see. Also, one more thing I did not mention in my last video, the stop one. I have this one macro that I constantly use that I forgot to mention last time, is the stop casting macro. Essentially what this does is, as you're casting something, you can press it and it interrupts your casting. This is useful because sometimes you can't move while you're casting something and you can't interrupt your spell cast. The example is in Scholomance, right? Where is it? In Scholomance, yeah, again another complicated one. Essentially, there are spiders in Scholomance. For example, they immobilize you. You're unable to move, but you can still cast spells. Unfortunately, because you can't move, you can't cancel spells by traditionally just moving, right? Also, in some situations, your positioning could be necessary. You'd have to be like perfectly in a small area, and moving a lot to cancel your spells could push you out of that positioning. So that's why I just use this. I just put it on X, and I always have my thumb hovering over this button, over the X, so while I'm healing, I can quickly cancel my heal and shift to healing somebody else, you know? It saves me a bit more time, and I can much quick because the point is when you're moving, like there are a few frames of your movement of your animation, and during that time you can't do much. But while you're canceling, you can do it immediately, and you can shift between targets almost immediately. I would recommend using this. I tried adding this. Uh, I've tried adding stop casting into my mouse over macros, but unfortunately, what it does is it does what it's supposed to do. Like it stops casting your current spell. But why I don't use it here is because normally, when the healing amount is somewhere around here, you can queue up your next spell. See? I don't know if you can notice it, but essentially you can press healing somewhere around here, so your next heal starts immediately, and that allows me to keep healing constantly without stopping. But if I put a stop casting macro inside here, it will stop casting the entire thing immediately. So I'd have to wait until the cast is complete and then cast the next spell. Those several frames would would give me delay in my healing, and I don't want that. So I ended up doing this. I ended up having a separate macro just for that purpose, right? So that's for today's update. I'll try to keep it short. So that's it. I hope this information was useful to you, and I highly recommend you doing this experimentation yourself. Again, if you do go for Spirit of Redemption, don't take the points out of spiritual healing, take 1 point out of spiritual guidance, and you'll get there. Okay? So, as before, bye, and see you later.